each painting comes a very complicated layering of memory. Looking at them, I feel the pang of desire to get back even more. I'm not the same painter I was when I went there. I live in Philadelphia. My studio is 4, 5, or 6 miles up the Schuylkill River from Center City. It was one winter's night, the phone rang, and there was a man who identified himself as Peter Maxwell on the other end, asking if I would like to come to Ireland to paint. I held the phone out like this and looked at it, and he went on to describe how he's involved with this foundation that's bringing painters from, I suppose, America and Ireland and England to work in Ballycastle, and they would be pleased to provide me with a house in the summer for as long as I would like to stay. And I did a little research behind the scenes and concluded that this was legitimate, and I came to Ballycastle. When I discovered Ballycastle, it was like, oh, you know, it was like a revelation. It would have been like the president of GM, like stumbling through the woods and discovering a bunch of nudists reading Chinese poetry in the woods, and realizing that there was another opportunity. I've come to know light in a way here that I never expected. Nothing stands still. This field is lit, then the other field is lit. It's never the same. The painter is really forced to recreate one moment in the midst of all that chaos. The experience pretty much is like being on roller skates for the first time, and maybe drunk on roller skates for the first time. I never knew a place like this. This is total madness. I enjoy the challenge of the weather, and there's nothing I like better than to go out and sit on the top of a hill and get assaulted. This place has largely been passed over by time. The clock stopped in Ballycastle. Coming from Philadelphia, and having grown up in the city, I think it's a charming town. It's mostly just a few grocery stores, a post, a Protestant church and a Catholic church, and there are many pubs running up and down the street.
Well, I haven't even got the plans. We don't have to get planning permission, apparently, because I've talked with Kitty.
Margot and Peter started the Ballynglen Arts Foundation, and I think it was the best thing that ever happened because it attracts so many people here. Europeans and English artists, the American artists who have come here, I've met them, Stuart Shillings.
But there is something, the most atmosphere.
When we first came over here on vacation, we had a gallery in Philadelphia, a gallery in New York, and I said, this would be a wonderful place for artists.
To the 27.
We became attached to the people and the community, as well as this extraordinary landscape, which was the initial draw. All the rest of us, of course, know. The Ballynglen Arts Foundation was started to help artists and help the community of Ballycastle in a very direct way.
The way we did that is we asked working artists to come here and work, knowing that even if you had a weak fog and moldy rain and all the rest of it, they would find it inspiring.
An artist who is awarded a Ballynglen Fellowship is invited to come to live and work in Ballycastle, in the Ballynglen Centre, in the studios in our own building, for a period of a month to perhaps 3 months or even more. Time enough to make a serious body of work, time enough to have an effect on the work for a period of years. What artists bring with them in terms of not only what they create and the message that it sends out to various parts of the world, but also the people who come to see it, the people who come to visit them, brings cash into the community, which is something that was not happening before.
Remember the name?
Wendy Growitz.
Well, Wendy Growitz.
Yeah. 10 sweeties, is there?
1, 2, 4.
4. And a popsicle. 20, there's 40.
The foundation has benefited the village here, very much so. They'll come in and out and they get their papers and they get their little bits of groceries and they love it.
16. All of the artists who come get very involved with Brian Polk. Polk's is both a grocery store and a pub. The grocery store is essentially one room, not unlike the corner grocery stores that I remember from Philadelphia when I was a kid.
How much did you say it was in order?
You didn't have you didn't have a napkin.
Out.
You didn't have a napkin.
No, I mowed 4 lawns, did a bit of weeding.
1 or 2.
Yes, that's 1 or 2. That's older normally. All young people normally, apart from that, young people. A recent business is that run by Mary Munley, who opened Mary's Tea House.
That's you.
That's the Susan Shatter.
That's not. Oh, oh.
With the Art Centre being just in town itself, you've continuous movement of people. I love the colours and that.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to frame them, right?
The artists pop in for a cup of coffee, they go out. They might be in 20 minutes later for a scone or whatever.
The stuff gets stained and changes colour.
Do a trip now on your way out.
Thank you very much.
All right.
We'll
Thanks, Peter.
eat them.
Enjoy them.
We will, we will.
Bye.
Bye.
I love Irish music, but Irish music is not what this landscape is about to me. Mostly Beethoven and Bach come to mind. In there, I really find a kind of oral language that seems very much connected to the range of mood. The sky is like this tremendous atmospheric umbrella that just seems to wipe out any form that stands in its way. An Irish friend once said, it was very difficult for him to look at the Irish sky because it was dripping blood. It was a painful sky for him to look at, and he couldn't really paint it because of everything that the Irish landscape brings with it, in terms of memory. There is a certain kinship between Jews and Irish Catholics. The transition from the old world to the new, what was left behind, what was dumped overboard on the boat, what the children of immigrants preferred not to look at, and a certain kind of pain that has been inherited from the past. The other really important parallel for me has been the attachment to land. I had this amazing kind of hallucination on a bog several summers ago. I was laying on the ground and the effect of, there were fogs rolling here and there and mists, and I began to think about who the people are who work this land. And then I began to think, where's my land? Jews were wanderers. We've been carrying our land in a shoebox for several thousand years. We're long gone from our land. Our land is a landscape of the imagination. I'm primarily an urban-oriented painter. For years, I was painting in North Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, buildings, with form with a big F, light mass, shadow mass, form. I'm sure that I'm looking at things romantically. I'm sitting in Philadelphia, particularly around Kensington and Fishtown. At certain times in the morning or the late afternoon when there's a very directional light and all the walls are lit up, I think that I'm in Venice. There's gorgeous stuff happening out there, and the deal is to try to see it. It's a matter of trying to distill and finding great beauty in simplicity. I get up each day and try to go out the way that any working person does and do the job. I do see what I do as part of a broader and ancient human activity, that I think the painter has a very important place. And I'm doing my own part the same way the butcher, baker, and the candlestick maker are doing theirs. Mine is no more or less important. looking at my own paintings, it's as if I can just jump right back into it. The painting is really like a bridge into the landscape. This has been in my drawer for a year and a half, but when I look at it, I'm right back up there in a, you know, this insane kind of beautiful day, trying to figure out, you know, like what to suppress or what to, you know, just how to shape or, you know, what to do with the paint. I have these stickers that need to go on the back of the oil paintings. Now, how do we know which oil painting is which? Intense afternoon glare, cliffs by the bay. Oh man. Here's a tape measure, Nikolai. Late afternoon. Yeah, this one is late afternoon. Okay. You have that tape? Did I give that to you? Okay, Nikolai, this one, that's Benway Head, and that's coastal cliffs battered by heavy rain. Just check it. Warm afternoon light, cliffs by the sea. Well, this is cliffs, these two are cliffs. The summer of '98, I hadn't intended for anything particular to happen. I was just there working, but it turned out to be a very wet summer. And somewhere in the midst of that, I realized that the rain was beautiful. I'm looking at these white walls of water moving across this landscape. Starting at the top was sky, and then, you know, getting lower down is hillside and grass, and the water became like a screen with varying degrees of translucency. I discovered a different kind of painting that was about something much more ephemeral and transitory. The atmospherics of that landscape were almost acting as a solvent, the way that the turpentine acts in paint. Everything that I had presumed was real was kind of melting away. So I started painting the rain. And what that meant was letting go of what I thought a landscape was. You know, hillsides with cottages, foreground, middle ground, background. I mean, that's how we order the world. I mean, you know, it's a big issue. You know, like, what is reality?
So sweet. He's just so friendly.
There's a Jewish tradition called Midrash, which is commentary about the Bible. It's what people say about the original material that becomes just as important as the material itself. Painting is doing the same thing. Painting is making commentary about the visual world that we all see and we don't see.
The artists coming to Ballycastle has completely changed my view.
Can you see our house? Can you see your house in the painting? That would be a very similar view now.
It's like when I look at its sunset now, I look at it because I know we'll talk about it the next day, or the rainbows, where I honestly didn't even notice them before that.
Mary Armstrong. That's beautiful, isn't it? Isn't it gorgeous, that one? It looks like a photograph, doesn't it? Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, look at it first, and the sky is see all the detail.
The sky around here is amazing. I don't know, it must be something really influential about it for the artists. I took it for granted. It's lovely.
It could have been Stuart Shells or one of the American artists, and they always say, oh, isn't that a great sky? And now we have this habit when we're walking, we always look at the sky. Now you see all the movement and different colours, and it has made us more conscious of the beauty that's around us. When you live in an area all the time, you don't see it.
These are from the summer of '01. But this is just, they didn't look like this necessarily in '99 or '90. I mean, this has been a kind of evolving
they're
thing.
much more abstract.
They're all coastal.
Yeah.
And the show is kind of shaped in a way to present very related views. Delivering the work today and unwrapping the paintings and seeing them framed for the first time, each one of the paintings is very evocative. It's more than just a painting on the wall for me. That's why I think painters can get very bent out of shape when somebody walks in and says, well, what is that supposed to be? What is it? You know, like the division between that and that, you know, that line, I could only do that with what am I going to do that with, a tiny little mouse hair brush? But to pull the paint down to that spot and then stop with the knife. You know, I mean, I've worked there for 9 years. I mean, it's a narrowly focused show, but I'm not suggesting this, you know, as a shtick or anything. And we all thought, who's Jeffrey? Look, I don't know why I've done what I've done. Does this make sense?
Yeah, no, I remember your retrospective, but these are beautiful.
I'm just like absorbing what you're saying.
I haven't totally, I mean, I've preserved some kind of directional gestural quality. I mean, I haven't eliminated all that. You know, there is differentiation in there, but the knife. For me, that's what a painting is like. It's like getting into a car or getting on a bicycle or putting on wings or whatever, or just taking a little trip. It's like the song, the old McCartney-Lennon lyric about just turning off and letting your mind go downstream. This is the most important place that I've ever worked in my life. And there's stuff that I need to deal with. It can't wait another year. I don't know where this is all going, but over the course of the last 4 summers, my visual world has sort of melted and been reformed. And my job as a painter has always been to just follow my brush. I obviously have a deep investment in the Irish landscape, at least as this corner of Northwest Mayo goes. To me, this place is like a little slice of paradise that I had no clue existed and has become a very important part of my imagination and what I think about during the year when I'm not here. I couldn't survive without knowing that this exists.